I'm going to walk through the steps that I take to prepare for a demo in front of a customer. This is done well before the customer arrives and is sitting in front of the display. What I want to do is set up the InServe to be ready and not have the customer waiting for things like file generation or creating performance charts and that sort of thing. What I need to do to make this happen is create a thin provision volume on a limited number of disks and export it to a host. I then need to go on that host and set up and run iometer to generate I/O. I'm going to use a Windows host, and I need to predefine some performance charts so when I go to the performance section of the IMC, it's already up and ready and I don't have to go and create charts. I will in the demo actually create a chart so they can see how easy that is, but that's not the purpose of this, this setup. I'm going to be using two machines, MKTG INS4 and MKTG R20001, which is a host with Windows 2008 on it. The steps to take care of this are, first I create a volume on a very limited number of disks. In this case I'm going to create a CPG that's on 8 nearline drives and configured as RAID 6. I'm then going to create a 25 gigabyte volume using that CPG. I will then export that out to a host as a VLAN and start iometer to start throwing I/O to that VLAN. The first step of iometer is to create a file of 25 gigabytes that'll be the entire size of the volume. Then I go on to the InServe and I create the performance charts, and once iometer has written the entire volume with one large file, I go back to the InServe and grow the VV to 100 gigabytes, and then I go on the host and expand the volume using the built-in Windows tools to 100 gigabytes. Now when I demo the volume will be 100 gigabytes but only 25 gigabytes of data, and on the InServe it'll be, and the host will see a full 100 gigabyte volume. I now need to start working on the InServe. First thing I do is go into provision CPG that's on 8 disks. I give it a name. I change the type of disk to nearline since I want to limit performance, and change it to RAID 6, again limiting performance. I need to select advanced options because I'm going to select a fewer number of disks than the default. This is a very easy process because I'm just going to say I'm only going to pick the first disk on each magazine. I know I have 8 nearline magazines in this system. So I'm done. There's now a CPG created that's going to be only on 8 nearline disks. I now need to create a volume, virtual volume, give it a name of load sim. I'm going to give it a size of 25 gigabytes. Remember, it has to start at 25 gigabytes, and I'll grow it later to make it a volume with 25 gigabytes of data, 100 gigabytes of allocated space. And I click next. It was off the screen, I apologize. I now need to export that as a VLAN to the host, so the host sees the 25 gigabyte volume. Pick the volume. I pick the host, R20001. I'm not going to change any other options. Finish. And now the host sees a 25 gigabyte volume, but since I'm in the InServe, I might as well go into performance and set up my charts now while I'm here. The easiest chart, and I think one of the coolest charts, is PD IOPS usage. That's the only chart I'm going to do. It'll show across the entire InServe all the PDs and what the IOPS they're pushing are. I'm done. Now I need to go in and do another chart for VLANs. I'm going to look at VLAN IOPS and I'm going to look at VLAN response time. So let's give it a name, something like that, VLAN IOP and response time RT. I need to change this to virtual LUNs. I'm going to pick my 2 LUNs that are out there. Remember, these are the real LUNs, 2 LUNs because it's down 2 different paths. And I don't want to have plots for each of those LUNs on each path side. Do IOPS a second read, change that to IOPS a second write. I'm going to change this to response time or service time read, make it an easier color to see. And Of course, I want to do service time right. Again, change the color to an easier color. And we are done. The in-service setup. Now I need to go to the host and set the host up. All right, first thing I need to do is log in, of course. Once I get logged in, I need to go to Computer Manager, right-click on Computer, Manage, go to Storage, Disk Management, and I need to rescan for disks since I just presented this out as a LUN. The host doesn't know it's there yet, so it needs to go out and look at the buses. There it is, and now I need to bring it online. That's a Windows 2008 ISM. Once it's online, I need to initialize the disk and then put a file system on it. Initialize disk. I picked GPT, GUI ID partition table, because that'll allow you to look at volumes greater than 2 terabytes. This is a smaller volume, but I just get in the habit of doing it. All right, I've gone in, formatted the volume, give it a name of LoadSim, and I'm going to do quick format. That's kind of important, not so much with a 25 gigabyte volume, but when you're dealing with a 250 or 2.5 terabyte or 5 terabyte, waiting for a format takes a long time. All right, so that's done. Now I need to go to Iometer and set up Iometer. The default for Iometer is 1 worker per CPU core. It's a 4-core system, so we have 4 workers. And I, as a rule of thumb, choose 8 outstanding IOs per worker for a total of 32. There's no scientific reason I do that. It just feels right to me. Now I need to pick the access specification, or the IO load profile. I picked 16K. That's our block size. Seems to work well. I'm going to change this to 90% read, 80% random. It was 100% read. I want some writes in there. And it was 100% sequential or 0% random, and I want to have this mostly a random workload. And let me change that. And one thing that's important to do is change the align IO on in Iometer during this setup to a 16K or some even number boundary. I find 16K seems to work best. Even though the file system is aligned on the host, that doesn't mean that this benchmark works well unless you go in and align the benchmark. So I click Save, and what Iometer does now is go out and write a file as big as the file system. That's why we kept this volume to 25 gigabytes, so it would only write a 25 gigabyte file, which still takes a while. I go in and set up performance, and I choose 5 seconds and last update, so it'll keep updating itself. Okay, now we want to check and see the status of the Iometer. It's writing out that 25 gigabyte file. It's not done yet. We should see in the background, there it goes, the Iometer workload screen start kicking up. There's a big file, iobw.txt, created, and Iometer's up and running. Now let's go to the insert. All right, on the insert we see that Iometer is pushing out quite a bit of load. The disks, very few disks, and they are saturated. Remember, these are nearline drives. We're almost doing 200 IOPS. We have to grow the volume because the host first had to write the full 25 gigabytes, the entire volume space. Now on the in-serve we go and extend that volume to 100 gigabytes. Then we're going to go on the host and grow it again on the host so it sees the full 100 gigabytes. We're done on the in-serve. The volume is 100 gigabytes, and it shows only 25 gigabytes of real space is consumed. This is a thinly provisioned volume. Back to the host. We see that Iometer is running nicely, just under 1,000 IOPS per second. We're spindle bound with only 8 nearline drives. That volume that we've exported, 100 gigabytes now, isn't seen by the host yet. The host is still only seeing 25 gigabytes of available space. The reason that it's not seeing the space yet is because it doesn't know of the change. It has to go in and rescan disks. So we have to go up to Action and Rescan. It'll go out and check for new drive geometries or changes on the drive. And there's the other 75 gigabytes. Windows 2008, it's very easy to expand a volume. You simply right-click, extend volume, pick how much space you want to extend it by, and click next, and you're done. The volume is now bigger. Host sees 100 gigabytes, written 25 gigabytes. InServe has presented 100 gigabytes, but it's only consuming 25 gigabytes of real space.